Isn't it about time for somebody's favorite radio program?
This is America's Outdoor Talk program.
Are you ready to get rowdy?
Outdoors This Week with your host, Alex Langer. Alex Langer. We've got fishing.
Believe me, folks, I have been there, and the fishing has been tremendous.
Hiking.
Adios. Have a nice trip.
Camping.
This is a real adventure.
How do you know?
When you're an experienced woodsman like me, you get a feel for these things.
Oh, really?
Heck, we've even got kayaking.
I'm going to show you kids the time of your life.
We've got all the info you need for a safe and fun day in the sun.
It's a darn good thing we found you when we did. There's something horrible roaming these woods.
And you've got Outdoors This Week. Outdoors This Week. And now, here's your host, Alex Langer.
Why, thank you, Mr. Announcer. You know, he did that just the right way, and he always does it the right way. That's the one advantage of having the announcer on tape, so he never screws it up. I'm very excited to be here because I'm alive and on the right side of the dirt, and that's what matters. And today we have with us a guy by the name of Fishin Frank. That's Fishin Frank Humma, like Fishin Frank, and then Jackie Gleason used to do something called like Humana. It's Fishin Frank Humma. Fishin Frank owns a tackle store, guide service, etc., in Southwest Florida. And of course, that's where a lot of anglers are going to be heading this year from all over the country. You know, Southwest Florida gets a lot more Midwest anglers than the East Coast of Florida. And the East Coast of Florida tends to draw people from the East Coast of America. And Southwest Florida tends to draw people from everywhere else in the USA. The Canadians, by default, end up on the East Coast. So I can't figure out the Canadians. Maybe you can, Lynn.
That's really weird. I'm going to have to check that out.
That's right. They love Hollywood and Hallandale. Don't ask me why. Every other person in Hollywood and Hallandale is a Canadian citizen.
Wow.
Just on vacation. Fishin Frank, I've known Fishin Frank for over 20 years. Back when I was just a young fella starting with the flying lure, I reached out to Frank because he was in the area where we have our business in Southwest Florida, and he helped us. And in fact, I have a VHS movie of myself doing my show from a boat on the phone, from one of Frank's boats on the phone.
That's so cool.
A national radio show. I think I even took calls on that show. So that was in the early days of cell phones, you know, so you could do it.
Did you have a brick phone?
Yeah, I did. It was a big brick. If I dropped it in the water, that would have been the end of that. So, and that's it. And then we also have all of our usual suspects today, and I won't name them. And the next suspect you'll hear, it will be Ron Linder himself, ranting about something or other. We don't really know what, but it doesn't really matter because that's what we expect from Ron. All right, folks, don't go away. We'll be right back with a great show. I promise.
More of America's favorite outdoor talk program, Outdoors This Week, after these messages.
Hi folks, Ron Linder here for Linder's Angling Edge Television, seen every Saturday on the Pursuit channel. You can go to anglingedge.com and it'll tell you the hours it plays in whatever time zone you're in. anglingedge.com. Also, by the way, we have we have a book on there called Catching Fish. If you are anyway interested in the way that angling began, make sure you take a read of that book of Catching Fish. It's on anglingedge.com. You could also go and see us on Facebook. You can go to Angling Edge Facebook and Ron Linder Facebook and see some of the stuff we're doing. Well, this weekend I fished a tournament. It was a 2-day tournament on 2 different lakes, and it's a fundraiser for a place called Camp Confidence, which is a camp for handicapped people. A real good event and a very, very, very worthy cause. But that isn't the story. The story is that one of the lakes of the 2 lakes is the lake that I live on. And for years, I've heard that this Camp Confidence, it's always been at this time of the year. Over the years, my son Jimmy, I think, has won it 3 times. I've had a couple of wins, and always second, thirds, and fourths. This weekend, we did poorly. I fished with a friend of mine, Kurt Compton, who has only fished about 150 tournaments on the lake. Well, we got zebra mussels. into the lake an invasive species. It happened about 3 years ago. And I haven't fished the lake that much this year, and I didn't fish it that much last year either. I'm busy chasing other things. I've fished other tournaments. I did a Canadian tournament for 2 weeks here, and then, of course, we're filming, we're going here and going there. I haven't really fished the lake that much. Well, anyway, I had the shock of my life in some places. In running around yesterday and going to some of the area, the clarity of the water that the zebra mussels and the extent of the weed growth. The weed growth is it's just beyond words. I just cannot explain it. Off on the edges, there's balls and balls of bait, but there's no bait or small fish shell. Now, the lake itself, I mean, this thing is, they've had tournaments won on docks here beyond, there is no fish on the docks. None. The little rock bass, the little bluegills, the perch, the little stuff, they're just not there. There's no minnows on the docks. Everything is out off the edges. They've cleared the water up that you can see right down, real good down to 12. If the bottom's kind of light, you can see down to 14 feet. Now, that never was before. So these fish are going to a complete change. By the way, all the anglers are going through a complete change. All the marks that I have on my GPS, all the waypoints, they call them the blue dots. I've got, on this particular lake, I probably have 400 of them. And my partner told me, he says, we can do with those blue dots. He says, you can erase them on because they're no longer valid. The whole thing has changed. And that's what invasive species can do to a lake. For one, now, people always wanted clear water here. There's that lake, it had a little tinge to it, especially because it's very, very heavily trafficked. There's a lot of people live on the lake. This is a used body of water. There are many year-round homes on it, and so there you quote by the way, there's 3 golf courses where stuff runs off. So the pollution level is pretty high. So the water for years was kind of dark. They've always said, let us have real clear water. Well, baby, you got it here. And now they're scratching their head. And in places, my kids were swimming, my grandchildren were swimming off my dock, and they jumped and they hit a rock, and my one granddaughter cut her foot on these zebra mussels, which are the clamshell kind of things. She cut her foot on those because there's so many of these zebra mussels that are sent here. At any rate, it took more weight than usual for the tournament. Way more than usual. So, but where these guys caught the fish is completely different. So I'm just telling you that, and you're going to see more of this. With the state of Minnesota, I think we're the 5th or the 8th lake. You've got, they call it the land of 10,000 lakes. And with the Mississippi River, by the way, those zebra mussels are in the Mississippi River right at the end. This is the beginning. It comes out of Itasca State Park. With the zebra mussels in here, they are going to be in all 10,000 lakes. They will be for sure. And with the Mississippi River going out of here and makes a nice little slip through Iowa and Illinois and then pours into all these other places, you're going to see these zebra mussels all the way down. It's just a matter of time. All right, that's it for now. And if you, like I said before, if you take a look at our book at anglingedge.com or go see us on the Facebook. See you later, folks.
Larry Whiteley and the Outdoor World Report are proudly brought to you by the brand new Rototail, the world's first and only plastic worm with a soft rotating spinner tail. The patented tail generates unbelievable vibration that you and the fish can actually feel just like a spinnerbait or a crankbait. See it at rototail.com. That's rototail.com.
Buck photos coming up on Bass Pro Shops Outdoor World.
Have you ever wanted to disappear into the woods? Have you ever wanted to tie your own flies, but never taken the time? Have you ever wanted to speak turkey? then you belong at Bass Pro Shops. Every week, we offer free skills workshops to help you get started. See the store or go to BassPro.com for more information. Bass Pro Shops. Your adventure starts here.
If you've never used digital trail cameras to get better look at bucks in your hunting area, what are you waiting for? They're becoming much more affordable for the average hunter and much more user-friendly. Using trail cameras for me has added even more fun to the great sport of deer hunting. To figure out all the pieces like where deer are moving, feeding, and bedding, start putting it all together and then determine where to hang my camera, and then actually get a big buck on camera is just as exciting as the actual hunt. For the tightest buck shots, set it within 9 to 20 feet of a trail, scrape, creek crossing, or other likely spot. Point the camera north or south to avoid the glare of rising or setting suns. Cross-reference your photos with deer sightings, rubs, tracks, and scrapes, and use all this to help you to determine where to sneak in and hang a stand. Now, hopefully, the next photo then is the one with you and your big buck. I'm Larry Whiteley, and this is Bass Pro Shops Outdoor World.
Why, thanks a lot, Larry, for that outstanding report. Listen, my next guest I've known, he's a young fella whom I've known for about 20 years. When I knew him, it was way, way back when we first started the flying lure. He was one of the guys that helped us with it. At the time, he just had a little bait shop on the west coast of Florida. But since then, he has become, well, rather than me telling you what he's become, I'll let him tell you what he's become. Without any further ado, Fishin Frank. Frank, when I first met you, you were running a bait shop. What happened since then?
We're now the #1 frozen bait dealer on the west coast of Florida. We're in the top 3 star dealers in the United States. We're in top 5 quantum. We're don't really know how, but somehow I became the man, the myth, the walk-around living legend in other people's minds. I still just enjoy to fish, and we have a great time down here. And, you know, FishinFranks.com has been a big boost to everything because right now there's nothing for sale. It's just a lot of different fishing info.
Right.
And it's 8 gigabytes of fishing info.
People can go to FishinFranks.com right now. Is it fishing or fish-in?
Well, there's no G in Southern fishing. We show you where to go, what to do, and how to do it. And the big thing right now is snook fishing.
Right.
Snook fishing is absolutely going crazy right now. We're just having a ball.
A lot of people did very well on snook with the flying lures. And snook are notoriously hang under cover, don't they?
One of the best things about the flying lure is the ability for it to get back underneath a dock. And picture a largemouth bass who's hanging around the pilings and waiting for the prey to come by. They're not like run down and, you know, they don't cruise around looking for food. They pick a spot. That's where they live. That's what they protect. And a snook is much like that, except heavier, stronger, faster, much more aggressive. I can land a 6-pound bass on 6-pound cast, and you try and do that with a snook, he'll wear through that leader in a matter of seconds. Then he's got a gill plate that's razor sharp, and if he does a roll on you, he'll take that out. So you got to use about 30 to 40-pound test fluorocarbon leader in front of your line. Usually about 30 inches is what you want.
Really? Frank, how was the fishing been so far this year?
Oh, great. One of the things that most people forget is snook, like we were talking about with the bass, is underneath the dock. And so you really, one of the best places to do it right in the canals, where everybody has their docks, you know, behind their houses and the boats.
Right.
And you take like a flying lure and you do an underhand pitch, let it hit on the water, let it get back towards the back of the dock, and then just jig it back out slowly. We usually figure 2 to 4 casts per dock. So let's just say 3 and make it easy.
Right.
You fish 3 casts on the dock, go to the next one. And there's the possibility of getting 44-inch, 42-inch, 30-pound fish from underneath these
Wow,
docks.
that is like largemouth bass fishing, but for really, really big largemouths.
Yeah, this is a largemouth bass that goes to the gym every day, does a great aerobics workout, has the same ability to jump, clear the water, do backflips, has pretty much an identical head to it. But the strange part about it is back, 50 years ago, it was considered a trash fish.
Hold that thought, because bass were considered trash fish too many, many years ago, especially in trout country. We'll be right back after this important message. Don't go away.
I'm the big boss bass.
Hang tight. More of America's Outdoor Talk program, Outdoors This Week, after this.
Wow! Woo! Hold on to that, and that's a good one since 1984. Tight Lines with Sammy Lee.
For the first time ever, you can now plot your own lakes and rivers so that you have a permanent copy for your files. What do I mean? Hello, this is Sammy Lee. In just a moment, Darren Cole tells us about Lowrance's new Insight Genesis and why you need to get this, I can promise you. But first, this message.
You enjoy your time on the water, but you probably don't think too much about why you enjoy it so. Maybe that's because you get there safely using a boat trailer equipped by Unique Functional Products. UFP manufactures the axles, brake lines, and braking systems used on America's best recreational vehicle trailers. Unique Functional Products goes in before their name goes on. So enjoy your trip. And remember, at UFP, your family's safety means as much to us as it does to you. Unique Functional Products, from people dedicated to making things happen.
While talking with Darren Cole of Lowrance Electronics recently, I asked, what is this new Insight Genesis you're introducing this year?
Insight Genesis is a cloud-based online service. Portions of it are free to use to get people familiar with this service. Then there is a portion that's subscription-based that you subscribe to use. So basically what you're using the application and service for, though, is for creating your own maps that you can use to navigate on any body of water anywhere in the world. You record sonar while you're out fishing, turn it off at the end of the day, transfer that sonar log to an SD card. All of them have little SD cards that allow you to save your information. So now you've got it on your card. Take that home to your PC, wherever you've got your internet connection. Upload that to your Insight Genesis online web tool, the cloud. Matter of minutes, you'll get data back. That's every place you've been on the lake today. It's got down to 1 foot increments, so you'll be able to see where you've been on a chart. It's almost like a Bing or a Google Earth type overview whenever you turn the app on. You can see wherever you've gone and control, so you can look back at that data. If you want to, that part is free. But if you would like to download that map to your SD card that's been provided back to you, you can take it back to your fish finder, plug it in. Now you've got your own map that you created.
Unbelievable. I'll be back with more Tight Lines after this.
Is this the biggest fishing breakthrough in decades?
It's a revolutionary lure that is the most versatile plastic worm I've ever fished with.
Ever see a plastic worm with a tail that spins 360 degrees like a spinner? How does it do that? Be amazed at rototail.com. That's rototail.com. This new plastic worm effortlessly goes through any weeds and thick cover.
The unique action created by the spinning tail, along with the versatility that you can use this lure, it's amazing.
It puts to shame ordinary plastic worms that either do nothing or just wag back and forth. The tail calls fish from long distances and telegraphs what it's doing back to your rod.
The vibration that you feel on your rod tip is amazing. I never would have imagined in my wildest dreams that a soft plastic spinner, you'd be able to feel the thumping as it comes back to you.
Makes a great gift.
I believe that the Rototail is the next generation of plastic worm.
See it work at rototail.com. That's rototail.com.
Hey, if you think today's information was something, just wait until you hear what Darren has to tell us next time. I'm Sammy Lee, and until next time, Tight Lines.
Tight Lines, brought to you by HuntMate, the ultimate hunting app for your iPhone. And by UFP, America's leading maker of brake systems for boat trailers.
Thanks a lot, Sammy Lee. Now, I used to do that by hand. I used to keep a log of where I was on a particular lake. Everything is an app now. Everything is an app. Speaking of apps, we have with us a man by the name of Fishin Frank, who is a legend in Florida. He's got a store in Southwest Florida. I've known him for, since I was a young fella, over 20 years, and Frank has since prospered and become the #1 bait dealer in all of Florida. And instead of me telling you all about Frank, I'll let Frank tell you all about Frank. Frank, what did I get wrong in your introduction?
We've become quite a big thing down here in Florida, one of the #1 tourist stops.
Where's your store? It used to be in Punta Gorda, right?
We've actually, 29 years ago, I walked in the store and started working here, and 21 years ago, I bought it. And but we've been right here on the corner of Edgewater and 41. It's in a place called Charlotte Harbor, but the post office and its benevolence doesn't exist anymore. So we're either Port Charlotte or Punta Gorda if you look us up.
All right. Port Charlotte or Punta Gorda?
I can throw a stone and hit Punta Gorda, and I can throw a stone and hit Port Charlotte. So either one is good. But Charlotte Harbor is the body of water down here, and most famous part of that is the Boca Grande area, where tarpon capital of the world. It's actually where tarpon fishing for leisure got its start. Every year we get tens of thousands of tarpon come in. We have a year-round population of tarpon because they come here, spawn, lay their eggs. They grow up, and when they get big enough, then they join the schools of fish, and which just now are starting to leave the harbor. We've had some great tarpon fishing here in the middle of the harbor. The trick has been to get out there and find the schools of ladyfish, trout, even the catfish, and you get these big schools of fish. And the tarpon blast through them, feeding on them, and grab that 16-inch ladyfish, and you went from having a 2-pound fish to a 150-pound fish.
Do the tarpon actually spawn there?
Yes, the tarpon spawn. If we have a drought year, they'll spawn in the harbor. Right. On a normal rainy year, they'll spawn very close in the Gulf, and then the eggs work their way back up with the tides.
If you catch them in the Florida Keys, are they passing through?
Tarpon are migratory species, kind of a pelagic, and over eons, they figured out where the best food sources are. And there's a worm hatch that happens down by the Keys and from Miami all the way around down by the Keys. And they go there for the worm hatch. They come to Charlotte Harbor for the crab hatch. They've learned over time where the most abundant food sources are, and they just go from one to the next.
They go into different restaurants along the way, am I correct?
Exactly. And so it's like they take a tour of the Gulf. Our tarpon can end up in the Keys, up in Louisiana, over in Mexico. What's fun is you'll be out 30 miles offshore grouper fishing, and all of a sudden you see a big school of fish just porpoising. They kind of look like dolphin. They're just hitting it out of the surface and going down out of the surface and going down. You can set your compass right to Green Pass.
Right.
It's amazing to watch.
Those are tarpon?
Yeah, the tarpon, as they come in from all parts of the Gulf, and it usually happens between March, April, May, they'll all of a sudden something triggers off, hey, there's a big feast in Charlotte Harbor, and they'll come from everywhere. And you can be out there in the middle of the Gulf and just see a big school of tarpon coming by, and if you looked on a compass, you could set your direction right to Boca Grande Pass.
How do tarpon communicate?
I don't know, but I think it's a combination of bubbles and instinct, and, nobody really knows how to speak fish.
Right.
And that's one thing that goes to your new lure with the rotating tail.
Right.
People don't understand that fish speak a different language, and noise travels very, very far in water. Having a lure with the rotating tail on it, you're trying to speak the fish's language, saying, here I have a wounded bait, something an easier prey. This is something that you should eat. And that's what your lure is trying to tell the fish. And when you hear something like a soft plastic tail, a rotating tail like that, you think, well, what's the big benefit? Right. Well, the benefit is it's speaking more of the fish's language. Because when we put our head underwater, we don't think about what the vibration language is.
Right.
And that's what lures like that do. They try to break into the language of the fish. Say, here I am, eat me.
Sound underwater travels much more than it does in the air. I think it travels 8 times further and faster than it does in the air.
Exactly.
Frank, we got to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk to you about a lot more stuff in Southwest Florida. Would you come back for another segment?
Sure. Great.
Folks, he'll be back. That's great. Thanks, Frank. And folks, stay with us. We'll be right back, all right?
We'll be back in a moment with more Outdoors This Week with Alex Langer.
So many fish in the ocean, rivers and lakes, back bays and estuaries, here in the Sunshine State. We got an East Coast and West Coast.
The Wade Bowen Report is brought to you by the original Alex Langer's Flying Lure. Hey, that's my lure! Hundreds of millions have been sold on TV worldwide for over 2 decades. It fishes itself and swims away from you on its own. Catches nearly every game fish that's ever swam. See it at flyinglure.com. That's flyinglure.com.
Ammunition manufacturers love dove seasons. This is because there's more powder burned and shot scattered at doves than any other game bird in North America. Doves are abundant, they're a tough wing shooting challenge, and when you're successful, these birds are delicious on the table. I'm Wade Bourne, and this is Wired to Hunt Radio. In a minute, Jim Ferguson of Kansas tells why he goes after these birds every time he has an opportunity.
Stay with us. Wade will be right back.
Hey, waterfowl hunters, if you need a shotgun for the new season, check out Mossberg's pumps and autoloaders. They come in black synthetic and camo finishes. They shoot 3 and 3.5 inch shells. They offer great dependability and value. Mossberg is America's oldest family-owned and operated firearms manufacturer. Check out Mossberg shotguns online at mossberg.com. Also, be watching for the new series of Mossberg Duck Commander shotguns later this fall. Mossberg, built rugged, proudly American. Cabela's is the world's foremost outfitter for hunting, fishing, camping, and outdoor gear. They offer more gear than anybody, best selection, prices, and quality, all backed by Cabela's legendary guarantee. Shopping with Cabela's has never been easier or more convenient. You can outfit all your needs through Cabela's catalogs, website, and their many stores. Check them out at Cabela's.com. Cabela's, the world's foremost outfitter.
This is Wired to Hunt Radio.
Kansas is nicknamed the Sunflower State because of the wild sunflowers that grow across the landscape. And these large flowers produce seeds that are a favorite food for mourning doves. This state has historically supported huge numbers of doves, which in turn have fostered a strong tradition of dove hunting among Kansas sportsmen. Jim Ferguson of Colby, Kansas, is among their number. Jim enjoys dove hunting because of the sporty challenge these birds offer. They don't just loaf along. Instead, they dart and dip, usually at a fast clip. Jim says you've got to be sharp if you're going to bag your limit of 15 doves.
Well, the thing that I like about dove hunting is because they're all passing shots. And so when you go out there and you do sporting clays and you're taking those passing shots, it's just practice for when they come in. And, they'll come in at 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, sometimes right straight over your head at 12 o'clock. And it just makes it so interesting when you're out there hunting. It's not, the typical pheasant taking off. Planes out, you shoot it, and it's done. But they could come in from any angle, and they dip and dive. I'm telling you, it drives you crazy, but it's some of the most fun when you're out there shooting.
By the way, dove season in Kansas is open now and runs through October, and then again November 2nd through 10th. Many other states also have seasons that extend late into the year. Check the website for your state's wildlife agency to learn about dove hunting where you live. And that's today's Wired to Hunt Radio. I'm Wade Bourne saying thanks for listening. Get outside.
Thanks a lot, Wade. And we're going to go from the Sunflower State, which is Kansas, to the Sunshine State, which is Florida. Nothing against the Sunflower State, but I prefer the Sunshine State. We're with Fishin Frank. Of course, fishing is spelled F-I-S-H-I-N. Frank is spelled F-R-A-N-K. Fishin Frank, what is your website, please?
FishinFranks.com, FishinFranks.com.
All right.
And I was just showing people the benefits. We bought out a new fishing pole for kids 5 to 10 years old, a Fishin Franks rod. And it's got an amazing amount of power. I've got people here from the CCA, and we were just showing them that. But get back to what we were talking about. You're all set, Darlene.
Frank, for people listening to us across the country, how do they get a hold of you to book a charter?
Frank at FishinFranks.com or 941-625-3888.
941-625-3888, or they can email you at frank@fishinfranks.com.
FishinFranks.com.
What kind of charters can they expect? How much do the skippers charge for a day?
Well, $350 to $400 is about the average price of a charter. And once you get into tarpon season, it starts going up a little bit because fishing for tarpon usually requires much more fuel. You're running and gunning all day.
I know down in the Florida Keys, where I'm familiar with, the charges for gas are a big part of the thing. I even went out with my neighbor, and he charged me a few $100 for fuel.
It's astounding, the fuel cost, and since they started putting the ethanol in the gas, the repair cost is just astronomical. If somebody charges you $350 for a charter, basically half of that goes to the boat each time.
Right.
So it's not a huge money-making proposition.
Right.
But we've got guys like Captain Cale and Carl and Danny Latham, and we've just got 13 or 14 captains that work out of the store here. And the biggest thing when you're picking a charter boat captain is find out what his personality's like. You got to sit on a boat for 4 to 8 hours with this guy.
Right.
And
it's kind
of
like
get along with him personally.
Right.
Even if you're catching fish, you're not having fun.
I had a bad experience once off of Key West, but that's another story for another day.
I always recommend, if you can meet your captain, talk on the phone with him for a while.
Yeah.
See what his personality's like. And if you and him click off, you're going to have a good day, even if you catch a little less fish or a little more fish.
Right.
Personality, having fun with the captain, that's what it's all about. Because there's so much goes on all the time. You're sitting there and all of a sudden a 6-foot fish will jump out of the water, or you got a leopard ray, like a stingray, but spotted. It'll come out of the water, and this thing is 5 feet across, straight up, do a backflip, and slam down in the water again. And these things happen, and it's just great to be there.
Right. Did they ever fall on the boat?
Oh, yeah. The nightmare scenario is kind of like the carp on the rivers up north, where you're going along and a fish or a stingray will jump out of the water just because he's happy and feels like jumping, and your boat is there at the same moment.
Right, right.
And it happens very, very seldomly. It's like a 1 in 10 million shot, but somebody wins the lottery every day.
Right, right. We got about a minute left. What can we tell folks in about a minute about Southwest Florida?
We've got nice weather most of the year. Believe it or not, summer times are nice here. You just got to avoid the rain.
Right.
And in the wintertime, we don't get as cold as it gets up north. We have more moderate temperatures, winter and summer. And the seasons change for fishing down here. Right now, we're going into redfish, snook, trout season. We got a lot of Spanish mackerel here, but around April, that's when we start looking for a big fish. Right now, we're recommending 10 to 20-pound test line. Come around April, we're going to be recommending 30 to 60-pound test line.
Right.
As the big fish show up, the tarpon, the cobia, the sharks.
Thank you so much for being with us. And people can go visit you at fishinfranks.com, right? And folks,
we get 3.5 million hits a month.
Wow, that's crazy, Fishin Frank. I didn't know you were that big. I would have been a lot nicer to you along the way.
You've always been great, Alex. I love your product, and you've always been a gentleman, and I appreciate your friendship.
All right, don't stop now. More. All right, Frank, bye-bye.
Alex Langer, Outdoors This Week.